Hello, today we're going to do Module 5, Lesson 18. Our objective is that we're going to compare fractions and whole numbers on the number line by reasoning about their distance from zero. So we're going to look at fractions and we're going to see how far away they are from the point of origin on the number line. Okay, first things first, let's do a little quick review. Now, I'm going to turn my page back. I've got some fractions up here. When I find my mouse, where are you? Right here. Okay, I have 6/3. I have 9/3. I have 4/3. I have 7/3. I have 2/3. And I have 8/3. And I want to put them on my number line. Now, I don't have any guidelines here to help me with clues, so I'm going to have to make them myself. The first thing I want to do is see if I have any equivalent fractions. So let's see about that. 6 divided by 3. Can I do that? What would that be? That would be a 2, so I'm going to write a little 2 over here. 9 divided by 3, what would that be? That would be a 3, right? Can I do 4 divided by 3? No. 7 divided by 3? No. 2 divided by 3? No. 8 divided by 3? No. Okay, but it kind of gives me some guidelines. So I know that this right here is my smallest because it's got the smallest number. This right here is my largest number. This one is not even a whole. So I know I'm going to have to start with a 0. And then I will be putting that 2/3 over here. My largest is 9, and that would be equivalent fraction for 3. So that tells me that 3 over here. 3 needs to go over here. Okay, now when I look at my number line, I need to put a 1 and a 2. So let's put a 1 and a 2. So here's a 1, and here's a 2. Okay, now I need to cut each one of my holes into what? Thirds. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut them into thirds. So between here and here, I need to cut it into thirds. Now I'm going to cut this one into thirds. Okay, and then I will cut this one into thirds. Okay, now I can start marking them. So 6/3, I knew that that was already 2. So I'm going to put that over here. And I know it's an equivalent fraction, so I put a box around it. Okay, I've already done that one. Now, 9/3, I already had figured out that that was a 3, so I can just put that over here on the 3. 9/3 and its equivalent fraction, so we put a box around it. Okay, next we have 4/3. Okay, so we start counting. So this would be 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. So here would be 4/3. Next one, 7/3. So I can, I know where 6/3 is. I can jump right to 6/3 and then count 7/3. I don't have to start all the way at the beginning. So here we go. 6/3, 7/3. And then I have 2/3. So I start back over here, 1/3, 2/3. And then over here I've got 8/3. Well, I can just jump to the 7/3 and put 8/3. Or I can go to my 9/3 and go back one. Okay, we just practiced putting fractions on the number line. Now we're going to talk about which fraction is further away from the point of origin. Remember, our point of origin is 0 on the number line. So, for instance, which number is furthest away from the point of origin? Well, 9/3 is, isn't it? Okay, which fraction, if I look at, let's see, 4/3 and 6/3 is further away from the point of origin. Well, 6/3 is, isn't it? Okay, so look what would happen. If I were to write 4/3 and I were to write 6/3, I can use greater, less than, greater than, or equal, and put it here in the middle. Well, whichever is further away from the point of origin is my larger fraction, my larger amount, isn't it? Okay, so the crocodile is going to eat the larger one, so I put this symbol, and so it says 4/3 is less than 6/3. Well, is 4/3 closer to 0? It sure is. Okay, we're going to come back to that in just a minute. Let's do our application problem. 3rd grade students are growing peppers for their Earth Day gardening project. The student with the longest pepper wins the Green Thumb Award. Jackson's pepper measures 3 inches long. Drew's measured 10/4 inches long. Who won the award? Draw a number line to help prove your answer. Okay, so first we better start with a number line, right? Okay, so I start with a number line. Now, I know that I've got to get to 3, and I'm not sure if I need to go past 3 or not. Well, what would be 4 times 3? That would be 12/4, right? So I think I'm going to just put some numbers on. I'm going to kind of guess about how far I need to go. I'm going to put 4 over here, just in case I need to go over, which tells me that I need to put a 1, a 2, and a 3 on my number line. Okay, so I can mark 3 right here. This is Jackson's pepper. It was 3 inches long. These are inches. Okay, now 10/4. This tells me that I have to cut everything into fourths. Each hole needs to be cut into a fourth. So between 0 and 1, I'm going to cut into a fourth. So cut it in half, and then cut each half into half. Between 1 and 2, that's a hole, so I need to cut that into fourths. Okay, and then the same with between 2 and 3, so I know that if I cut it in half and then cut each half in half, that gives me a fourth. Between 3 and 4, if I cut it in half and then cut each half in half, that gives me fourths. Okay, so now we need to find 10/4. Well, let's see. 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, 9/4, 10/4. 10/4 is right here. Well, let's make Jackson blue. No, Drew. Drew would be blue. So 10/4 is here. Jackson's is here. Looking how far away it is from 0, when I were to measure it, which pepper is longer, Drew's or Jackson's? Well, clearly Drew's. We can see right here, can't we? Okay, so we need to write 3 and 10/4. Now remember, we can use less than, greater than, or equal. And what would we put here? Which one is my larger, which one's further away from 0 on the number line? That would tell me that's the largest one. Well, 3 is larger than this, so the crocodile eats the larger one. So we would say 3 is greater than 10/4. So we need to write a statement now. We're not done. Who won the award? Well, Drew is here and Jackson is here. Who won the award? Jackson won the award. Okay, so let's write that right here. Jackson won the award. And then let's say why. Because 3 is further away from 0 than 10/4. Good. Okay. Now, this time, I would like to talk about what happens if our hole changes. Now remember, if we have a small amount, so for instance, if I make another number line, okay, now the piece that I'm looking at right here would be maybe from 0 to 1. But this one is maybe 0 to, let's say, 3. That means I have to have a 1 here and a 2 here. Now these are the same distance away, isn't it? This one goes from 0 to 1, and this one goes from 0 to 3. But the same piece, right? Okay, so what if I wanted to show 3/4? Okay, now judging on my hole, if this is my hole and this is my hole, which one is going to have the larger piece? Well, first let's cut them into fourths. I'm going to change my color. Okay, so I know if I cut my half in half, I get it. So 3/4 would be right here to this one, all the way to here. Okay, now each one of these I have cut into fourths. Okay, so let's find 3/4 again. 3/4 is over here. Now, judging by the whole, they show exactly the same fraction. But this one's significantly larger than this one because the whole is different. Remember we talked about brownies? A large brownie is very different from a small brownie. So we need to keep that in mind when we do our fractions on here as well. Okay, now I want to compare 1/4 and 3/4. Now I'm going to use greater than, less than, or equal. And I have to first put it on my number line, and my number line goes from here to here. From 0, from the point of origin, to 1. Okay? Now I need to label my fractions. I need to cut them into fourths. So let's cut this into fourths. And then let's label our fractions. Now, some of you on your homework were saying that this first one was 1. This first one's not 1. Right here's the very edge. This is 0. So right here is 0/4. Over here is 1/4. Over here is 2/4. This is 3/4, which would make 4/4. We know that 4/4 is an equivalent fraction for 1. Okay? Now, looking at 3/4, that would be this one, and 1/4, we need to circle the one that is closest to the 0. Okay, so which one is closest to the 0? Well, 1/4 is here, 3/4 is here. Just by looking at my picture, I can tell this is closer to 0, so I'm going to circle it. This means that this is our smallest amount. So if this is our smallest amount, this would be our largest. The crocodile eats the largest, so I'm going to put this here. This says 1/4 is less than 3/4. Okay, I want to do one more, and then I'm going to set you to do your homework. Okay, now this time I want to do 11/4 and 7/4, and we can use greater than, less than, or equal. Okay, so they're going to give this to you, and they're so kind to you. On your on your practice problems, this is a 1 and this is a 2. So you're not even starting at 0. Okay, so, but remember that this arrow keeps going, 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 and over here would be the 0, right? Okay, now we have to label our fourths. We have to cut it into fourths. So I know that this is a 1 whole. I don't have to put any numbers in between. So it tells me I can just fraction it up, cut it up. Okay, 1/4. Now, what would, if I'm counting fourths, what would be 1/4? Well, that's going to be 4/4, right? Because I know that that's my equivalent. Okay, well then this would be 5/4. This would be 6/4. This would be 7/4. Uh-oh. Oh, no, wait, they wanted this. Whoa, okay, so here's 7/4. I found 7/4 right here. Right here is 7/4. You know what? Let me line that up a little better. Okay, right here is 7/4. Uh-oh, so I did 4s. Now I got to cut it up into 8s. I'm going to use a different color just so that we can see it better. Okay, so let's cut this into 8s. So I know that I have to cut my 4s in half to get 8. So from here to here, I'm going to cut it in half. From here to here, I'm going to cut it in half. Cut it in half. Cut it in half. Oh, this makes changing this denominator changes everything, doesn't it? Makes the problem so much more exciting. Okay, now let's label our 8s. Well, what would be 1 for equivalent fractions? That would be 8/8, right? That's an equivalent fraction. Okay, so here we go. If that's 8/8, this would be 9/8. This would be 10/8. This would be 11/8. Oh, okay, so I'm looking at this one, and I'm looking at this one. Okay, now I'm changing this. Which one is closer to 0? This one's closer to 0, so this gets my circle. That means that this is further away, so this is larger. The crocodile eats the larger. And here's my answer. 11/8 is less than 7/4. Ooh, but you wouldn't think of it because it has 11 on top and this has 7 on top, and we know that 11 is a larger number. Whoa! But look, 4ths are larger pieces than 8ths. Remember what I told you? The more you cut up the brownie, the smaller everybody piece of, the more you cut up the brownie, the smaller a piece everybody gets. So this has got a lot smaller pieces than this one, doesn't it? Absolutely. Well, look, we had to cut them into smaller pieces. All right, good luck with your homework. I think you're going to see this problem again.